Live.
Live, hopefully. Good morning.
Okay, so can you just... Hi everyone, I'm Amanda from Grand Dog Essentials, and I have Christine here with me.
Good morning.
And we are here to talk about food refusal. Christine and I were at a party not too long ago, and as soon as people find out what we do for a living, of course they want to talk to us about their dogs. And one of the first questions that came up was, my dog refuses to eat. And so I gave my insight, and then Christine was there, and she actually has some really unique insight that I have never thought of before. So a light bulb went in my head, and I thought, we need to get together, because this is a question we get very regularly in our inbox. People call us everywhere. It's incredibly popular, whether you're feeding raw or kibble, it happens all the time. Christine has unique insight being a dog trainer, and she introduced to me the term food snob. Before I was saying food pickiness and all that stuff, she just goes right out and says food snob, and I really like that. So yeah, I'm hoping that over the next 15-20 minutes we can just talk about what that means in her perspective and hopefully give you some tips. And we do also hope to do a couple other videos tackling other topics. So I think we talked about cats in the house,
Kids in the house.
children in the house,
Other dogs in the house.
other dogs in the house. So we're going to make a little bit of a series about this, but first today we're going to talk about food snob and what that means and what that looks like, and hopefully have some tips to kind of work with. So I'm going to move it on to Christine, and she's going to share some things with us.
Perfect. Yeah, it's always interesting when you talk to people with their dogs as soon as they know, like Amanda said. And then what was really unique about the situation was we share a friend in the middle, and we also share a wall right here. So Amanda's on the other side of this wall here. So we also share the same location. So working together and collaborating definitely is the right thing to do.
I want to stop you there.
Yeah.
Asking a question. Can everyone hear us? Can you say yes or no in the comments? Matt's going to tell me what you guys say. Can you hear us okay? We had microphones. The microphones are not working because I did not prepare enough.
That's okay. Yeah, if we need to be louder, we will shout.
Yeah, I will shout at you. But yeah,
okay,
you can keep
perfect.
going.
So yeah, there's always one dog or two dogs or multiple dogs that are food snobs. So there's many ways that you can kind of look at it from this. So I think number one, if your dog ever refuses their food, number one, you're always in the back of your mind wondering if is something wrong. So when a dog refuses their dinner or their breakfast, and they normally don't, that is kind of a red flag. So you do have to distinguish between possibly there's something medically, or maybe your doodle ate a sock or ate something they shouldn't. So food refusal, number one, you're just kind of keeping in the back of your mind, did they get into something? But you'll learn very quickly who the food snobs are, and that it's not that they're in any pain whatsoever. So a good indicator is you are just too sweet. So your dog...
You love your dog. You want to give your dog everything.
Yeah, so your dog doesn't eat the kibble, and you're like, look, I got this. Or your dog doesn't eat the raw food that you put on the platter, and they kind of look at you, and you look at them, and you're like, nope, that's what you're getting right now. And you go off, and you have your coffee, and you're like, oh my gosh, my dog hasn't eaten it yet. Oh my, and you're just fretting. So 22 minutes later, you're back in the kitchen, and you're cutting up something really good to top their food with, or you've got that chicken breast waiting, or maybe you even have some like the smack, you put a little smack on top. Some people use supplements, so they're like, okay, well if my dog doesn't eat it, then I'm gonna do this. And then all of a sudden the dog eats it up. So you're like, oh, okay, good, I feel so much better, my dog ate. So, who's in charge? You or your dog? It's your dog. So if you are a person that waits and then adds and tops, stop it. Stop. Prepare your dog's food from what they need as far as how much calories they need and all of the good things they need. Put everything out in the very beginning, because if they don't eat it within 20 minutes, you are going to pick it up and put it away. So you don't want to leave food out for too long, whether it's kibble. So some people are like, oh, I leave my kibble out all day long. I would not. You don't know how much your dog has eaten. If your dog actually got into something bad, the vet would ask you, when did your dog eat last? And if you don't know, they won't do surgery. They won't do surgery, right? And so that can be kind of sometimes like a life or death. So knowing when your dog has eaten it and how much they have eaten is really, really important. Now, you've had some vet fun lately with your own dogs. Yes. Did they ask you when you got there? When was the last time they ate?
Did they, Matt? You took them the first time. I think so.
Yeah, they would have said when did they eat last. I mean, you knew they ate grapes, but
what did they get into? Yeah. Was there anything else that they would have, like all of that stuff? You do have to know when you go in there.
Now, also another way to kind of distinguish if you're doing the kibble side of food, if your dog is a food snob, is if they're very excited when you buy your new bag. So you get the new bag, your dog eats it good for a couple days, maybe even a week, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'm not really excited about it. So most likely that is a food snob. So what that is it's not fresh. So you can test your dog on food snobbiness by going to your pet store and asking for a little tiny sample of your dog's favorite food and putting in their bowl. It's brand new, it's fresh. So if they eat it right away, you know it's because their kibble is not as fresh anymore. So for bigger dogs, usually you buy the big bags or you buy the big quantity because it makes sense this way.
Would it make sense how you're storing it?
Yeah. So a lot of people empty their bag into like a big Tupperware container. So for food snobs especially, I would say still put it in the container because you have a seal, but do up the bag every time and clip the bag. So keep it in its original bag. The big tote container just kind of keeps pests away, or if there was like a spill in your laundry room, it's not, or your pantry, it's not getting anything in the bag. So it's still a good way to store it, but or if you want to go as far to, filling a huge Ziploc bag and freezing it so that you just have like a little bit of kibble at a time that you're pulling from the bag. But that can be really helpful. And I think on the raw side, so when I have clients phoning about that, I think it's sometimes where you switch a blend. And just like people, dogs have preferences. So maybe they really love the beef and they're like, well, the chicken's okay. But if the chicken's okay and then in 20 minutes you add all sorts of good stuff on top of it, then you're not helping your dog make the best choices.
Well, and on the flip side of that too is like we find that a lot of people, whether it's raw or kibble, I find people feed the same thing all the time too.
Yeah.
And there can be a little bit of just feeling tired of the food too at play, right? And that could be raw or kibble, just not getting different variety in their food.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
But just making sure, if you buy some of these fun things or these fun toppers or you buy supplements, then make sure you just incorporate it in their food all the time. Don't make them wait you out to put it in. Because your dogs are smart. So if they know there's that special container in the kitchen, they're just going to wait for it. They're not dumb. And they'll just look at you and you're like, oh, finally you eat. So I think that's one of the biggest things, especially for people that are really in tune to their dog and really like just sweet on them, is if their dog doesn't even eat one kibble, they're like, oh, what's wrong? So, making sure that you're not falling into the trap of your dog.
Well, and your dog can pick up your energy. That's kind of what they're doing, right? They're picking up on the energy, they're picking up on habits and what they can get away with. And
they will.
If they know they can work the system, they're going to work the system.
And if you're, switching, whether it's you're switching maybe from different kibble, so some kibble too allows you to go different proteins, and I know also with your food raw, it allows you can do different proteins. The vegetables are the same. So if you're already preparing the new kind of raw food and you're anxious about it, I don't know if you're going to like it, are you going to like it? And you're always just kind of more or less coddling the dog, your perception, your energy is crud to the dog. So it's like, I got you something new, damn, you're lucky, and put it on the ground. Because that will make,
when you're feeding them. Feel confident about what you're feeding, and if you're not feeling confident, then
don't feed it to them.
Don't feed it to them. Figure out why you're not feeling. Figure out why you're not feeling confident, and maybe search out the answers so you can better prepare yourself and present that confidence to your dog.
Yeah, and a lot of food you can use, as treats, or you can put it in a supplement. You can put One really fun thing to do in the summertime, honestly, is just like throw some food outside and let your dog go find it, go forage, go get it. If you're trying a new kind of raw food and you're like, I'm going to test this out, maybe you get a smaller little sampler pack and you make some dog treats out of it. Do some fun things like that with your dog and get them excited about the new smells that are enticing. You also want to make sure in food refusal, again, that there's not a reason. So, for example, raw food can go bad if you don't store it properly. So can kibble. I see lots of people camping with kibble, and it's in a sealed container, and it's sweating because it has moisture in it. And people don't realize in the summer, if you're just camping, that food can actually go moldy in the container, just like it could if it was raw. So you have to be very careful, especially when you're bringing your dog in different environments, that they're not refusing it because something is actually wrong. So again, you want to listen to your dog, but you got to really be quick to think if like they're working you because they're just being food snobs, or if there is a reason. So just be cautious of that. There has been some cases in the States where food's been delivered and it's been kibble delivered to the doors, and the dogs wouldn't eat it, and the people are like, I don't know why, and it was because it was actually moldy in the bag because it was so hot in the trucks and then delivered to their house. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's just knowing your dog best. But if you're that person, if you can say that you watch your dog like a hawk, you know absolutely everything, you're constantly doting on your dog, then your dog can be a food snob pretty easy because they got you wrapped around their little paw.
I think I saw you answer a question on your Instagram about spoon feeding.
Oh, spoon feeding. Oh, should I throw them under the bus? Yes, definitely. Okay.
Sorry.
So Zephyr, a very amazing, sweet, very, very well-behaved Doberman, just got a new brother. She didn't ask for him. He just showed up. And Zephyr's always been a little bit of a princess anyways, and rightfully so. She's a very good dog. Yeah. But yeah, she's been refusing food a little bit. Yeah. So, maybe her mom's been feeding her on a spoon. Yeah. Maybe her dad's been feeding her on a spoon. So they're like, yeah, well, now she just expects it. Yeah. Well, duh, I want someone to feed me with a spoon. And in that case, it's very much, in that instance, it's behavior seeking its attention, because all the attention is on Zephyr, and Bandit's watching them spoon feed her. It's like, look, my parents really love me. Yeah. And another one of my clients was wondering, what's better? What is the best brand of food, whether it's raw or whether it's kibble? Because some people are always going back and forth, right? And so, I don't know, when my clients ask me, I just say that it's a lifestyle thing. You have to be, if you're committed to raw, then you have to do it. And it's more than just opening up a package. So many people think you can just go to the store and give them a cold patty and that is dinner. It is not.
It's a mindset shift.
Yeah,
but I think I would argue that it's a mindset shift, period, for any
for everything. Yeah, it's different.
You're
preparing
kibble,
different.
You're thinking about what you're providing them. Yeah. You are, because even with kibble, you want to be providing a variety. You don't want to be feeding, as we already talked about, we don't want to be feeding the same thing all the time. Yeah. And so I think it's beneficial to expose them to lots of different things. And yeah, and if some people, like, if my dogs really love their kibble, I don't want to switch it. I say then don't. But then I'm always telling people, watch them add on Instagram. There's always really good ways you can just add stuff to their diet, whether you feed kibble or whether you feed raw exclusively. Like your bone broth recipes, and you're blending things, and just adding blueberries on top of it.
So those kinds of things I think are really, really
we have
good.
Our smack here as well too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about smack a little bit more too. But just, if your dog really likes their kibble, but there's so many ways you can add better things. And, you're cooking in the kitchen, you have some leftover vegetables. That's a great way to blend them. And so I've watched you do recipes like that too. So I think that's honestly really good. And I think no matter what, it's making sure that you're finding the right thing. So I think the number one reason why most people have a problem, or even vets, like my vet doesn't like raw. Okay, but are you feeding a complete raw diet? So that's where I think you guys come into better play with that. Not only do you have the protein, but you have the vegetables, and also you have other things and the toppers, and you make sure that it's actually an actual complete meal. It's just
and
not
the toppers
just
are not specific just to make your dog to eat, but
but it's
have
minerals and
exposing them to a whole bunch of different vitamins and minerals and nutrients and everything, and it excites them about their food. I mean, just think about what you eat every day. Do you eat the same thing every day? No, I don't either, because we know that we need to try and get as much different variety as possible. So, like going back to what you said in the beginning, just like adding those toppers, but that is just part of their meal. It's not to make the food. It's just part of the meal, and that's what you're eating now. I think it's also important to talk about like the people who are doting. I mean, a lot of that, there's concern about your dog not eating for a period of time. And sometimes dogs are going to be self-regulating. So there's some dogs that will prefer just having one meal a day, or they will prefer, it depends on the season, lots of different things. So figuring that out, I kind of lost my train of thought. Where did I start with that?
I think it was just like I'm making sure that it's a complete diet. But yeah, every dog is a little different. But I would, I usually always recommend at least 2 meals a day. Sometimes with puppies, you're feeding 3, depending on what they need. But
what I was talking about was them going without eating.
Without eating. Yeah, and that's okay. And even if you skip a meal, if you're home one day and it's really late,
it's okay.
They won't die.
It's okay.
You can skip a meal. They'll be fine.
As long as your dog is healthy, they're not lethargic, they're not showing any signs of any other alarming signs of being sick. They're running, they're playing, they're having fun. They could probably go 24, sometimes for big dogs, 48 hours without eating. When it's hot outside, that will affect their appetite. If they're running a lot more than normal, that will affect their appetite. So you want to be in tune with your dog, but you don't want to be
Don't be a helicopter mom. Don't be a helicopter dog mom. It's obnoxious.
You've got a couple questions. Okay. Someone would just like to confirm, where's Christine from? And the impact that you think heat might have on appetite.
Oh yeah, as Amanda just said, heat definitely. And also in the winter. So lots of times I tell people, like, you may have to take your food down a little bit in the winter because you're not walking 3 or 4 hours outside. So it matters, right? If your dog's laying around all day because it's so hot, they're not expelling calories, so they're not as hot. Just like you're not going to sit down and have like a 3-4 course meal in the heat of the day because you would feel horrible. You'll have a salad. So kind of the same thing for dogs for sure.
Like in the summer, it might be beneficial. Maybe your dog would prefer to eat in the morning or in the late evening when it's a little bit cooler. They might be more interested in their food than in the heat of the day.
If you don't have air conditioning, for sure too. They just want somewhere that they can be cool. For anybody that doesn't know where CW Canine Consulting is, home base is Devon. So I co-own the dog shop where we are currently. There's myself here as the dog trainer. Alyssa Deans with Forever Friends Grooming is my business partner, along with Kendra. We're 3 Vibe and Thrive Canine, and she focuses on canine massage and therapy. And we also have Grand Dog Essentials in the building. We have like 4 amazing businesses out here in Devon. I also teach in St. Albert at Mr. Pets. That's my satellite location. So I will be there June 1st. Saturday, June 1st is Mr. Pets Customer Appreciation. So 20% off everything in the store. Bam. Yeah. So another thing to just keep in the back of your minds, especially if you've got big dogs, big barrel-chested dogs, is bloat. So for those of you that don't know about bloat is when your dog's stomach actually turns. So there are ways to help your dog never have to go through that. And one of those is breaking up the food so that they're not just eating 1 meal a day where it's very heavy in their stomach. It's also about them eating their food, not inhaling their food. So if you are one of those moms that gets excited, like, are you ready for your dinner? And you get them all excited and they're dancing around and you can't even put the bowl down or the mat down, that's a problem because you don't want them to eat with that much excitement. You actually just want them to enjoy their food and chew it. So we've also kind of brought a lot of different ways that you can feed your dog to just kind of slow down the eating process. Signs of bloat, though, for everybody, if you don't know, signs of bloat are your dog could be pacing around and they just can't settle. They could actually just lay down because they actually can't walk anymore. If it's a bigger dog, like you would notice it in your dogs more than maybe just a tiny little square dog, but because your dogs are a little bit longer, but you actually notice that their belly looks different, that their body shape looks different. And they can try to drink, they can't drink, they can try to get sick, they can't get sick, and it's described as ropey drool. So their drool looks very thick and ropey. Those are all signs of bloat. So if you see those in your dog or any dog, to the vet within half an hour, because they need surgery within 2 hours or they will die. So slowing down their food. Also, if you have more than one dog, making sure an hour before they eat, they're calm. So, you know, Philly and dudes were playing in the yard, being crazy and just having so much fun, and it's dinner, they wouldn't get dinner for another hour because you want them to just be calm. And then the same thing after, 2 hours after. So that doesn't mean you can't go for a walk, it doesn't mean you can't do things, but you can't throw a ball in the yard, and you can't let your dogs go play in the yard if they really like to kind of wrestle and have fun, and you're not going to the dog park until, again, they've kind of had that time for their belly to settle.
But what would you think about, like, taking them for a nice walk?
Walk, totally fine. Structured walk, yes.
A structured walk, and also it gives them that time, like if they are, because I know that I've had people tell me that their dogs wouldn't eat because they just got back from vacation, and their dog is saying, I'm not going to eat because I am not too happy with that you just left me. So like taking them out for a walk, and they have that exercise, but then they also have that one-on-one time with that. Their person is back, and they are just...
And food refusal too is very common if there's a big event in the house. It can be somebody's missing. So one of the questions I know I got was, well, when my husband leaves, the dog doesn't eat for 3 days. It's okay, but also you're probably doting on the dog, but you know, you just gotta let him have it, right? They can be sad too. But yeah, big events, and people are like, oh, my dog's mad. Well, no, it's different. Dogs thrive on consistency and structure. So if all of a sudden you shake that up, they're like, what the heck is going on? So there can be a lot into play that kind of comes from that. So we have a few different things. We've got, these can be anything, raw, kibble. You can
These are actually on sale right now at granddog.ca. We have them at like 25% off.
Ooh,
so these are the Mind Pet Platters, and they're unique from different slow feeders just because it's just a plate and it's open. You can spread out the food for them and allow them to just experience their food rather than just gulping down their food. So we do have these on sale at granddog.ca for 25% off. You can go to the Shop Now tab, and there's actually a new tab that has a whole bunch of sale items, so you can check that out.
And they are dishwasher safe.
They are dishwasher safe. You can use that as a cutting board if you want.
And anybody who's feeding kibble, this is a really great way to, you know, blend some vegetables and put it on here and freeze it. Let them lick it. Use it as a lick mat. There's so many ways.
I put some kefir along the edges here, and then freeze it, and then my dogs like to lick it out.
And then it keeps them busy. So these are great. But again, slowing your dog's food down. Some dogs don't like it when their tags hit a bowl. So that makes them dogs that are maybe a little more skittish. So, and lots of people are getting rescues right now. So there's so many things they're learning. A dog who's been a rescue, running around forever, has never had a collar on or tags. So now all of a sudden it makes a noise on something, and it's kind of scary to them. So these can be a really great way to kind of eliminate that. Also, some dogs have very big whiskers, and they don't like it when the whiskers touch the bowl. So if you have a dog with big whiskers, that could be why they're not wanting to eat.
Move it out of the corner too. So allow your dog to have a space to move and not feel, some dogs might feel enclosed by small spaces. That's another thing too.
If your dog bowls are usually like behind, facing the wall, when you're feeding, just for feeding time, you can move the water back after, put it here so their butt can face the wall. So that can be very, very helpful. So I tell people too, if your dogs are eating too fast, use a muffin tin. So this is very tiny, so it fits in my bins, but get a big 24, and you can do raw in here, you could do kibble in here, you could do whatever. So it kind of, they have to stop and eat kind of each one, so it can be a really good way to slow them down. And then there's all sorts of slow feeders. So this would be more if you're feeding kibble. You can do raw in here, but I think it kind of gets too deep. Yeah. I would say the platters are better for raw over the deep crevice here. And then the other option is a snuffle mat. So a snuffle mat allows you to either put treats or kibble or smack. Smack would be good in here. And the more you kind of groove it down, the lower it goes, the deeper it goes into the mat, so it makes it harder. So then when your dog's finding it, they can only get like 1 or 2 pieces at a time. So these snuffle mats are sold at the dog shop. They are made out of the thickest fleece you can get. So sometimes if you go to the pet store and you see a snuffle mat, there's like 5 little things. It's not very hard for your dog. So I assure you this is definitely harder. So again, you just want to make sure that, I think number 1, if your dog's refusing food, it's not for a medical reason. Yeah. And B, if you're questioning yourself over and over, you're a helicopter dog mom. So just breathe. Prepare their food, give them the 20 minutes to eat, and pull it back, okay? Because you're in charge of the food, so you have to make sure, and they will be fine. They'd be fine if they missed a meal. They'd be fine if they missed 2 meals. You want to make sure they always have fresh water, but missing a meal here and there will be just fine.
Yeah. If they're an adult.
Yes.
Not a puppy.
Not a puppy. No,
yeah.
Puppy, they've always done something, so.
Yeah. So we wanted to try and keep this under half an hour, or at a half an hour, so I think we're about at that time. So does anyone have any last questions they want us to answer?
Yeah, I think we're going to meet again. We're going to focus a little bit more next time on food refusal or food issues with if you have a household with kids, cats, or other dogs or other pets. So
I think we're going to do that on the 31st of May. I gotta check my calendar to make sure it's okay, but I'm pretty sure we're okay. And we'll post on our social media, when it's coming up as a reminder for you all. But yeah, Matt, do we have any questions, or are we okay?
Yep, there's a question asking if small dogs are okay to eat 1 time per day.
I would say no. I would say always give them the option to have 2, again, so they don't just have all of the weight of that kibble in their belly. And they might not be an early morning dog. Maybe they don't like 7 o'clock breakfast, but maybe they'd like 10. And if it isn't an option because you go to work and they don't want breakfast, pull it up. And then maybe when you come home from work, they're allowed to eat at 4, and just kind of see how that goes, and give them 20 minutes, and maybe they're allowed to eat again at 6:30. But I would try to split it up a little bit, just so there's, And I think if any questions come through, like on CW, or any more questions come through here, maybe we do a little question page or something, question and answer page after, so we make sure that your questions get answered for sure.
Yeah, we can always do a live with the kids, the cats and stuff, and then we can gather other questions, and then we can do one just focusing on all your questions too. So we can make this a fun little adventure. But if there's no other questions, we're going to say goodbye, and thank you so much for joining us, taking time out of your day. We really appreciate it. And
see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Bye. Matt doesn't know how to turn it off, so we're going to walk out and turn it off.